It's not every day you find yourself holding a watch that costs as much as a house. Take the Patek Philippe 5270 for example. A high complication piece from one of the oldest and most renowned watchmakers on the planet. It's an experience few will ever get to savor. Now, getting why a watch like this can even come close to justifying its hefty price tag requires a bit of insight into the brand behind it. Patek Philippe is a global name synonymous with high-end watches, but why it's famous and what it did to earn that fame can be a bit mysterious for many. First off, it's way older than most other watchmakers, 66 years senior to Rolex to be exact. Back in 1839, when Patek Philippe opened its doors, a baby born on the same day would be enjoying retirement before Rolex even started. They kicked things off by revolutionizing watch functionality, breaking away from the norm. While we now see watchmaking as traditional and classical, Patek Philippe disrupted the industry by doing away with the key used to wind pocket watches and integrating it with a hand-setting mechanism. Essentially, Patek Philippe gave the world the crown, something we still see in designs today. The way the Apple Watch is set wouldn't be the same without Patek Philippe. Moreover, they not only crafted one of the very first wristwatches but also set the standard for how they should look. During the tough times of the 1930s Great Depression, the charm and opulence of elaborate pocket watches were fading. Patek Philippe, faced with this shift, turned to the less favored wristwatch to carry on its legacy. Enter the Calatrava, simple, refined, and elegant. It was a departure from anything the industry had seen before, marking the start of an era of understated luxury still hailed as the finest today. Now, don't get me wrong, Patek Philippe didn't suddenly stop loving those big, ornate pocket watches. In the 1950s, they went all out and created the largest and most complicated one ever made, boasting 24 complications, weighing about half a kilo, and taking nearly a decade to craft. It fetched a cool $24 million in 2014, setting a record as the most expensive watch ever sold, until, of course, another Patek Philippe surpassed it, always pushing the boundaries. Patek Philippe also delved into cutting-edge tech, developing the world's first electronic clock in the 1950s. Ironically, it played a role in introducing the very technology that would eventually replace it in the modern world. Now, even with the advent of the mechanical watch becoming somewhat obsolete, Patek Philippe doesn't just hang on, it thrives. Why? Because it's not just a watchmaker with a rich history and innovative spirit. It's a paragon of the highest quality. Now, this is where watchmaking truly ascends to high watchmaking. You can snag a basic mechanical movement for just a few dollars, and it'll function more or less like any other mechanical timepiece. But when it comes to Patek Philippe, it's not just about the what, but the how. Sure, a machine can churn out movement pieces in seconds, but for a person, it could take a lifetime. Only the creme de la creme of watchmakers get the honor of crafting Patek Philippe's grande complication watches like this. We're talking about master watchmakers with decades of expertise, individuals who've devoted their lives to the art of creating the absolute finest watches. Now, let's dive into something that might boggle your mind: the calendar. The calendar we use to keep track of days, years, and months is, to put it bluntly, a mess. Centuries of adjustments have turned it into a mishmash of irregular units, making it a real challenge to build a watch that can keep up. Just think about it, 12 months, some with 30 days, some with 31, and then December and January, plus July and August all with 31 days, and don't even get me started on February. Thanks to the Earth's orbit around the Sun taking 365 and a quarter days, we throw in a leap date every 4 years, complicating February even more. I warned you not to get me started on February, but here we are. Dealing with these irregularities is headache-inducing for a digital solution, let alone a mechanical one. Yet, this Patek Philippe handles it effortlessly. It tracks every day and month, tells you the date, and doesn't stumble even in leap year. It even informs you if it's day or night and what the moon's been up to. But the real kicker? How do you translate that chaos of information into turning wheels and gears? That's the enchantment of high watchmaking. It demands the sharpest minds, and Patek Philippe certainly has plenty of those. What you end up with is a watch that doesn't just tell you the time, it maps out the planet spot in the solar system using nothing more than the power of a coiled spring. And if that weren't impressive enough, there's a chronograph packed into this marvel as well, ready to record minutes and seconds at the push of a button. Observing the levers in action, you don't need to be an expert to grasp the complexity, but the intricacies run even deeper. While a standard chronograph minute hand transitions gradually over a few seconds, thanks to the continuous motion of a mechanical movement, the Patek Philippe achieves this jump in an instant. Yet, the real craftsmanship in creating a high-end mechanical movement is still to be unveiled. To perfect each component, a master watchmaker doesn't solely rely on machines, they use their hands. They shape, polish, and brush each part to a level of flawlessness that's truly appreciated only under a microscope. It's easy to overlook this level of decoration at first glance, but it's the most challenging part of the entire process. Crafting a watch like this requires time, not just the days and weeks spent meticulously working by hand, but also the time it takes to acquire those skills in the first place. A single component may demand days of unwavering focus, working at the microscopic level with nothing more than hand tools. When a simple mistake can mean discarding the part and starting anew, it takes decades to master not only the required dexterity and motor skills, but also the immense patience. It's a tradition and an aesthetic as ancient as watchmaking itself, a symbol of the highest level of quality, and only the very best can attain it. There are very few watches out there that can demand such a hefty price tag, but when it comes to the Patek Philippe 5270, grasping the craftsmanship that has elevated the brand to this pinnacle, giving watchmakers the expertise to craft it, really helps understand why such seemingly small items can carry such a colossal cost. The irony lies in the fact that for a watch like this, keeping time is almost at the bottom of its list of purposes. As a sculpture, a piece of mechanical art, it starts making much more sense. Just using it to check time, without appreciating everything else about it, is akin to using the Mona Lisa to cover up a stain on the wall. A big thank you for tuning into this video. If you found it enjoyable, do give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. If there are specific watches you'd like to see featured, drop your suggestions in the comments below. Until our next video, take care!